I thought I was just tired. That's what I kept telling myself. Everyone gets burnt out, right? Just push through. So I did what I always do. I made lists, set alarms, promised myself tomorrow would be different. But here's the thing, my brain wasn't responding to any of it. Not the motivational videos, not the productivity hacks, not even the things I used to love. And that's when I realized something terrifying. This wasn't regular burnout. This was something completely different. If you've ever felt like you're drowning while everyone else is just tired, if you've experienced a level of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, or if you've wondered why recovery feels impossible when it seems so simple for everyone else, this video is going to change how you understand what's happening to you, because ADHD burnout isn't just worse burnout. It's a fundamentally different beast, and treating it like regular burnout is like trying to fix a broken bone with a band-aid. Before we dive in, quick question, where are you watching from? Drop your country or city in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about our community across the globe. And if this resonates, hit subscribe. We're building something real here. Let me show you what I mean with some real scenarios. Sarah is a marketing manager. She's been high-performing for 3 years, then suddenly she can't write a single email. Not because she's busy, her calendar is actually lighter than usual. She stares at her blank screen for hours. Her boss says, just take a weekend off, so she does. Monday morning, nothing's changed. She can't understand why a weekend didn't help when it always does for her colleagues. Marcus is a college student who's been doing fine by masking his ADHD struggles with intense overcompensation. Then midterms hit, and he doesn't just feel stressed, he feels like his brain literally shut down. He can't process the simplest instructions. His roommate studies for 6 hours, complains about being tired, then bounces back after pizza and Netflix. Marcus studies for 2 hours and needs 3 days to recover. Something doesn't add up. Then there's Jennifer, a creative freelancer who built her whole business around her hyper-focused superpower. Suddenly, even her passion projects feel impossible. She's not just unmotivated, she's terrified because the thing that always saved her, her ability to hyper-focus when it mattered, is just gone. Her neurotypical friends tell her to take a mental health day. She takes 5, still nothing. Here's what all three are experiencing. Their ADHD brain has hit a wall that regular rest can't fix, and nobody around them understands why. So let's break down exactly what makes ADHD burnout so different, because understanding this distinction might be the most important thing you learn this year. Difference number 1, the baseline is already compromised. Regular burnout happens when a typically functioning brain gets overwhelmed by excessive stress or workload. It's like running a car too hard for too long. Eventually, you need an oil change and some rest. ADHD burnout is different because your brain is already working with executive dysfunction, dopamine dysregulation, and sensory processing challenges every single day. Imagine that same car, but it's been running on half the oil it needs from day one. The fuel filter is partially clogged, and the engine temperature gauge doesn't work properly. Now add the same workload. Here's the kicker. What neurotypical people consider normal daily stress is already pushing an ADHD brain closer to its limit. A regular person might operate at 40% capacity during normal times and hit 90% during stressful periods. An ADHD person might operate at 75% capacity just to appear normal, leaving very little buffer before hitting the red line. This is why ADHD burnout can sneak up on you. You're not doing anything different, you're just finally hitting the limit of how long you can compensate for a system that was already strained. The research by Dr. Sharon Celine shows that ADHD individuals expend significantly more cognitive energy on executive function tasks that neurotypical brains automate. You're essentially running mental background processes all day that others don't even think about. Difference number 2, the crash is neurological, not just psychological. When a neurotypical person experiences burnout, it's primarily psychological and emotional. They're mentally exhausted, stressed, maybe anxious or depressed. Rest, therapy, and stress management typically help because the core systems are intact. ADHD burnout involves actual dysregulation of your dopamine system. Your brain's reward and motivation circuitry, which was already compromised, essentially crashes. This isn't metaphorical. Your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning, decision-making, and impulse control, goes offline in a way that feels like someone literally unplugged your brain. Think of it like this. Neurotypical burnout is like your phone battery dying from overuse. ADHD burnout is like your phone's operating system crashing. You can't just charge it up. The system needs to reboot, and that takes much longer. This is why you might experience complete inability to start tasks, even simple ones you normally could do, loss of your usual coping mechanisms and strategies, extreme time blindness, worse than usual, sensory overwhelm from things that didn't bother you before. Your ADHD medication stops working effectively or makes you feel worse. One person described it perfectly. It felt like my brain was a computer that blue-screened. Nothing worked. The keyboard shortcuts I'd learned, the programs I'd installed, all useless because the operating system itself had failed. Difference number 3, masking collapse amplifies everything. Here's where it gets really insidious. Most ADHD adults have spent years masking, creating elaborate systems to appear neurotypical. You've learned to remember to make eye contact, force yourself to sit still in meetings, pretend you remember what someone just said, laugh at the right times in conversations, hide your fidgeting, appear organized even when you're internally chaos. This masking is exhausting. It's like speaking a second language all day, every day, in every interaction. And when burnout hits, your ability to mask collapses first. Regular burnout might make you a bit more irritable or less patient. ADHD burnout means you can't maintain the mask anymore. Suddenly, you interrupt people uncontrollably, you forget appointments you'd normally catch, you stim in public without realizing, your processing speed drops noticeably, you can't fake interest or engagement. What makes this worse is that people notice. Your performance at work changes visibly. Relationships strain because you can't regulate your responses, and the shame of failing at masking adds another layer of stress, creating a vicious cycle. The neuroscience here is clear. Masking requires constant prefrontal cortex activation. When you're burnt out, that's the first system to fail. Dr. Devin Price's research on autistic and ADHD masking shows that the cognitive load of masking can, by itself, lead to burnout, even without additional stressors. Difference number 4, recovery requires system rebuilding, not just rest. This is huge. When a neurotypical person burns out, the prescription is usually take time off, rest and relax, engage in self-care, gradually return to normal activities. And it works because their systems are fundamentally intact. They just need to recharge. ADHD burnout recovery is more like rehabilitation after an injury. You can't just rest. You have to actively rebuild your executive function systems, reestablish dopamine regulation, and create entirely new coping strategies because your old ones stopped working. Think about it. If your pre-burnout strategy was hyper-focused to everything, but burnout took away your ability to hyper-focus, you can't just wait for it to come back. You need different strategies. Recovery often requires creating external structure since your internal systems failed, simplifying life dramatically, not just a bit, building dopamine regulation from scratch, accepting that you might need to function differently than before, professional support that understands ADHD. Specifically, one person shared, I took 3 weeks off work expecting to bounce back. I didn't. It took 6 months of ADHD coaching, medication adjustment, and completely restructuring my life before I could function again. And even then, I couldn't go back to my old methods. Difference number 5. The triggers are different and often invisible. Neurotypical burnout typically has obvious triggers: work deadline crunch, major life event, caregiving stress, financial pressure. You can point to what caused it. ADHD burnout can be triggered by things that seem completely manageable to others. Too many transitions in a day, even positive ones, sustained period of masking like a multi-day conference, decision fatigue from everyday choices, sensory overload accumulation, having to advocate for yourself repeatedly, success itself, the pressure of maintaining high performance. Here's a critical one: understimulation can cause ADHD burnout just as much as overstimulation. A boring job that doesn't engage your brain can drain you completely because you're fighting your neurology every single day just to maintain attention. Also, positive experiences can trigger it. You hyper-focus on a new relationship or project, riding that dopamine wave for weeks, then crash hard when novelty wears off. From the outside, people think, what's wrong? Everything's going great. But your brain just exhausted its dopamine reserves. Difference number 6. It affects identity more deeply. Regular burnout makes you tired of your job or situation. ADHD burnout makes you question who you are as a person. Because here's what happens: the strategies you've used to manage ADHD, the skills you've built, your sense of competence, they all stop working. And when your coping mechanisms fail, it doesn't feel like I'm burnt out. It feels like I'm broken. Neurotypical people say, I need a break from work. ADHD people in burnout think, maybe I'm not capable of adult life. Maybe I've been fooling everyone. Maybe I'm just fundamentally defective. This existential crisis component is unique to neurodivergent burnout. You're not just tired, you're watching your entire self-concept collapse. The student who was smart but lazy suddenly can't do basic tasks. The creative who always had ideas has none. The professional who was quirky but reliable becomes unreliable. The shame spiral is intense because ADHD already comes with decades of being told you're not trying hard enough. Burnout confirms your worst fears about yourself. Difference number 7, the timeline is longer and non-linear. Neurotypical burnout recovery typically follows a predictable arc, rest period, gradual improvement, return to baseline, maybe 2 to 8 weeks with proper intervention. ADHD burnout recovery is measured in months, sometimes years. And it's not linear. You'll have good days that make you think you're recovered, then crash again. You might regain some functions while others remain offline. Why? Because you're not just recovering from stress, you're rewiring compensatory systems, healing from years of masking, addressing underlying dopamine dysregulation, and often confronting trauma from being undiagnosed or unsupported. People often make it worse by trying to return to normal too quickly. They have one good day and immediately load their schedule back up. Then they crash harder. The recovery requires sustained changes, not just temporary rest. Let's quickly bust some myths that make this worse. Myth 1. ADHD burnout is just an excuse for being lazy. Real talk. If it were laziness, you'd feel relaxed. ADHD burnout involves excruciating guilt and anxiety while being unable to act. Laziness doesn't cause neurological symptoms or medication resistance. Myth 2. Just push through like everyone else. Pushing through is what caused the burnout. It's like telling someone with a stress fracture to keep running because everyone's legs hurt after marathons. Myth 3. Burnout means you're not managing your ADHD well. Actually, ADHD burnout often hits high-functioning people precisely because they've been managing so well that they didn't notice the warning signs. You compensated until you couldn't anymore. Now, what actually works? Let me give you 7 strategies that address ADHD burnout specifically. Strategy 1. Implement energy-based planning, not time-based. Stop asking, how much time do I have? And start asking, how much energy do I have? Your executive function is compromised, so time management won't work. Instead, categorize tasks by energy requirement: high cognitive writing, decisions, medium emails, errands, low folding laundry, watching videos. Match tasks to your current energy level. If you're at 30% capacity, do only low demand tasks. Don't guilt yourself about it. You're preventing deeper burnout. Use a simple 3-color system: green high energy, yellow medium, red low. Track patterns to predict your energy. Strategy 2. Create dopamine microdoses throughout the day. Your dopamine system is crashed. You need to rebuild it gently. Build 5-10-minute dopamine hits every 90 minutes. Favorite song, quick game, funny video, text a friend, pet your cat. These aren't procrastination, they're neurological medicine. Pair boring tasks with dopamine. Listen to a podcast while cleaning. Work at a coffee shop for the environmental stimulation. This is called temptation bundling, and it works with ADHD neurology. Strategy 3. Radical schedule simplification. Cut your commitments by 50%. Yes, really, cancel things. Say no. Resign from committees. Your brain needs dramatically less input right now. Each commitment is cognitive load you can't afford. Create white space days with nothing scheduled. Your nervous system needs unpressured time to regulate. This feels uncomfortable at first. ADHD brains panic at unstructured time, but it's essential. Strategy 4. External systems replace internal ones. Since your executive function is offline, externalize everything. Use alarms for every transition. Put items you need at the door. Use body doubling, working near someone for accountability. Automate decisions, same breakfast daily, capsule wardrobe, meal delivery. This isn't forever, it's scaffolding while you rebuild. No shame in needing support. Strategy 5. Sensory regulation protocol. Create a sensory safe haven. Noise-canceling headphones, weighted blanket, dim lighting, comfortable clothes. Your sensory threshold is lower during burnout. Accommodate it. Daily regulation practices: 10 minutes of movement, 5 minutes of deep pressure, hugs, stretching, grounding exercises. These regulate your nervous system at a physiological level. Strategy 6. Reframe productivity. Completely survival is productive right now. Brushing teeth is an accomplishment. Sending one email is success. Seriously. Your brain is healing from neurological dysregulation. Existing is hard work. Celebrate tiny wins. Make coffee, win. Showered, victory. This isn't lowering standards, it's accurate assessment of your current capacity. Strategy 7. Get ADHD. Inform professional support. Find a therapist or coach who understands ADHD burnout specifically. Regular burnout advice will frustrate you. You need someone who gets that just relax doesn't work for ADHD brains. Consider medication reevaluation. Burnout can change how meds work. Your psychiatrist may need to adjust dosage or timing. Here's how these work together. You wake up, check your energy, yellow today. You do one medium task, strategy 1, while listening to music, strategy 2. You have nothing else scheduled, strategy 3. You use your phone alarms to remember lunch, strategy 4. You wear comfy clothes and work in your sensory safe space, strategy 5. You celebrate making the call you've been avoiding for a week, strategy 6. And you text your ADHD coach about a small win, strategy 7. It's not perfect. Some days you'll crash anyway, but you're building a recovery system that works with your neurology, not against it. 6 months from now, you might not be back to normal. You might be better than before because you'll understand your brain's limits. You'll have systems that accommodate instead of forcing. You'll know the warning signs and actually rest before crashing. You'll stop measuring yourself against neurotypical standards and start honoring your actual needs. And that's not giving up, that's wisdom. If this helped you finally understand what you've been experiencing, do me a favor, subscribe. This community is full of people who get it, and we're figuring this out together. Drop a comment sharing which difference hit hardest for you. I read them all, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. You're not broken, you're burnt out. And with the right approach, you can recover. Take care of that beautiful